comparative analysis of the federal sentencing and prison reform bills that were recently introduced by members of Congress. Hopefully my analysis helps to provide some clarity concerning the scope and potential impact of the two main bills currently being discussed, the SAFE Act and the Sentencing Reform and Corrections Act. My analysis will be limited to these two bills. Unlike many of the other individuals who have already critiqued these bills, I've actually read every single line of each one multiple times, not just the notes but the actual bills. All 144 pages of the SAFE Act, 141 pages of the Senate's version of the SRCA, and the 18 pages of the House's version of the SRCA. Thus far, I have not heard any one person nor organization adequately articulate the substance of each bill, so I will humbly attempt to do that now for the benefit of all those of you who are interested. Let me begin with the SAFE Act. This bill was written in direct response to the findings of the bipartisan Overcriminalization Task Force after they had completed a comprehensive 18-month study. The bill squarely confronts a wide variety of systemic issues, all of them directly related to our unusually high rate of recidivism. The clear intent of the SAFE Act is to reduce recidivism by implementing evidence-based programs at all levels of the criminal justice system. Included within this bill are annual assessments designed to provide short-term oversight, which in turn would help to ensure more cost-effective, positive program outcomes. Furthermore, the SAFE Act requires increased collaboration between all government agencies and community organizations currently involved in the criminal justice system. This bill includes, but is not limited to, the federal law enforcement, United States Attorney's offices, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, Community Corrections, U.S. Probation Departments, community reentry organizations, and nonprofit organizations. All of these entities would be expected to coordinate their efforts to reduce recidivism in a much more meaningful and productive and cost-efficient manner. The Sentencing Reform and Corrections Act, the SRCA for short, is similar to the SAFE Act, only in sheer number of pages, not content. The SRCA was constructed by a few senior legislators with no internal criminal justice system experience, nor was it based upon any relevant research in support thereof. The SRCA, if enacted, would merely shift the current prison industrial complex from secure remote facilities into primarily urban-based community correction centers. These reentry centers, or halfway houses as they're more commonly known, have been a tremendous failure in reducing the rate of recidivism. Yet this bill makes absolutely no attempt to improve the community corrections model, nor does it, in the alternative, create some type of accountability for reentry program outcomes. If the SRCA is passed into law, this $80 billion a year corrections industry is simply going to be passed from one hand to another amongst the very same profiteers who have consistently reaped tremendous rewards from our suffering for many decades. I find it incredibly ironic that Senator Grassley, the same man that just a few months ago proudly proclaimed himself to be tough on crime and actually in support of increased mandatory minimums, suddenly feels compelled to join our sentencing reform movement. His actions simply don't make any sense, at least not on the surface. I believe it's imperative for us to look much more closely at these so-called reforms he's proposing and to examine his motives for introducing this bill. We shouldn't be so eager to accept this possible Trojan horse of a gift that he and a few others have left on our doorstep. We really need to open this thing up and see what's hiding inside. I believe that complete transparency is the best way to win widespread support for any plan, and the SAFE Act is both clear in its intent as well as content. It's plain to see that the reforms spelled out within this bill would greatly reduce the federal population over time in a very smart and sensible manner. All of these reforms are based on the results of smart on-crime initiatives that have already been implemented and proven successful by a number of state criminal justice systems across the country. It makes perfect sense for us to capitalize on the success found within each of these state systems, especially when you consider that the Federal Bureau of Prisons has a current operating budget of $7 billion a year. I venture to say, based on our unyielding rate of recidivism, that there hasn't been much smart use of taxpayer funding in quite some time. The SRCA basically maintains the status quo, and if enacted, it would do little to reduce the tremendous financial burden of mass incarceration that's been placed on taxpayers. At first glance, there may appear to be a few similarities between the SAFE Act.
This call is from a federal prison.
At first glance, there may actually appear to be a few similarities between the SAFE Act and the SRCA. Both bills call for improved substance abuse treatment for addicts. Both bills also call for inmate case plans to be created and implemented and tracked by the BOP. And both bills call for increased good time credits. But never has the old adage, the devil is in the details, been proven more true. The disparities between these two bills quickly becomes apparent upon closer inspection of those good time provisions. The SAFE Act allows almost anyone within the custody of the BOP to earn up to 10 days of good time credit per month. It then deducts those days from the remaining term of incarceration. The SAFE Act also calls for the expanded availability of 1-year sentence reductions to be awarded upon the completion of comprehensive rehabilitative programs like the RDAP, Challenge, Life Connections, and other similarly structured evidence-based programs. The SAFE Act's earned good time credit provision gets smart on crime by literally saving billions of dollars and reuniting tens of thousands of families over the course of the next decade. On the other hand, the SRCA's good time credit provision affects only a fraction of the federal prison population due to 2 full pages of exclusions. Only low-level, low-custody inmates are going to be eligible to earn up to 5 days good time credit per month, and even fewer of those qualified inmates are going to be eligible to earn an additional 5 days good time credit per month. The worst part of the SRCA's good time credit provision is that it doesn't actually reduce the length of an inmate's sentence. Instead, it merely transfers the good time earned inside prison facilities into more time.
This call is from a federal prison.
Instead, it merely transfers the good time earned inside prison facilities into more time spent inside community correction centers. This certainly isn't the bill that we want, nor is it anything that it appears to be on its face, nor what others have proclaimed it to be. The most troubling aspect, for me at least, of the SRCA is how it fails to provide meaningful relief to all those of us who have been subjected to draconian mandatory minimum sentences under the 924C federal firearms statute. Although this bill initially reduces the super enhanced recidivist penalty provision down from 25 down to 15 years, it then proceeds in the very next line to further expand the recidivist provision to include any state prior conviction involving a firearm. So instead of limiting the scope of 924C's enhanced penalties, the SRC actually serves to greatly expand it, and that just makes no sense. Of course, a few of us may benefit from this change initially, but too many individuals, including myself, will end up buried beneath unjust death in prison sentences if this is not corrected. And how many more future federal firearm offenders will unknowingly fall victim to the new multiple stacked 15-year mandatory minimum sentences created by the SRCA? Knowing this, how can we, as a community, choose to support this bill? There is another option. The SAFE Act offers us a simple solution by clarifying the second or subsequent language in the 924C statute to ensure that it only applies to repeat federal offenders. Furthermore, Representative Scott's office has assured us that there will be an annotation to the bill expressly prohibiting the stacking of 924C sentences. Now, that's something that we can all come together to support and celebrate. So how are we going to ensure that the SAFE Act gets passed into law? Well, the first thing we need to do is to contact all of our representatives in both the House and the Senate and to let them know precisely what we want and expect from them. The best way for us to do this is to explain to them in our own words why we want them to support the SAFE Act and not the Sentencing Reform and Corrections Act. If for any reason you cannot visit your representative in person in their office, then your next best move is to call and speak with them directly. You've got to be persistent. A lot of times these are busy people, and it's going to take a few times of you trying to finally get through. If for whatever reason that option simply is not available, then a handwritten letter is your next best option. And if all else fails, an email will suffice. Please realize that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to dramatically improve the entire criminal justice system, but we're quickly running out of time. This really is our chance to make a difference, but we've got to act now. Together we can make this happen if each and every one of us does our part. So let's get the SAFE Act passed and bring everyone home far sooner than expected. I want to thank all of you for your time, effort, and continued support. Thank you.